Welcome to Carl and Heather Present,
the podcast where we dive into the insights, challenges, and humor of being married to someone who is nothing like you.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Oh, don't you know it's Carl and Heather Present Marriage Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas from Carl and Heather Present.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, babe.
Merry Christmas to you too.
On a special Christmas Eve episode.
Christmas Eve. I love Christmas.
I do too. It's
Yeah.
my favorite. Your birthday's tomorrow.
I know. I'm so excited.
I know.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, how you doing?
I'm good.
About to turn 50 years old.
Yeah. About to turn
I mean,
50.
30.
Oh, right. Thanks for that.
Just outed you.
All of everything is ready for the most part. Mm-hmm. Grocery shopping has been done. Presents have been wrapped mostly. We'll do some last minute stuff after the boys go to bed tonight. But speaking of which, do you have any idea what the boys are getting for Christmas?
The boys are getting for Christmas what they get every year for Christmas, and that is a really thoughtful mom.
Okay.
And someone, I'm actually wondering what you got yourself for Christmas from me.
Okay.
Just kidding.
That's good. No, we've got it all done. I actually find myself, though, this time of year, it's a bit of a conundrum because I'm thinking about gifts and getting gifts. And then we travel, and we're traveling after Christmas this year, which is unusual. So we're getting gifts there. And so there's just a lot of moving parts. And I want to be at peace, and I want to be calm, and I want to be present with you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes everything that surrounds Christmas makes that a little difficult for me, just to be honest.
Well,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's crazy times.
It is. Mm-hmm. For sure. So anyway.
Let's help people a little bit on Christmas Eve by talking about how we can receive one another, spouses, as gifts to each other.
Yeah.
So, but the gift of a spouse comes with some things that you need to remember and pay attention to.
I think the best way for us to think about it as parents is the same way we think about toys that we've given our kids like throughout the years. And there are some things that if you know in advance about the toys, then it will help you care for the toys in a better way. It'll help them last longer, right? If there is a thing with boy parents.
You get more enjoyment out of them.
Absolutely. But it transitions well into like the way you treat your spouse. And so the first thing is just handle with care. Like we have to handle each other with care because, as I said, this time of year tends to be a time where everything else is vying for our time and attention and care, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody and everything wants a piece. And so it's easy for us to say, you know what, my marriage is good, or we'll work on our marriage in the new year, but we can kind of put things on the back burner for the holidays. And I love these scriptures from Ephesians where Paul talks about husbands and wives and specifically how they're to treat each other. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. That's a big responsibility for men, right?
It is.
Because ultimately, Christ died for the church. Like he gave up his own life. So that's the way you as a husband, you are supposed to love me in that way. But then for me, there is a command or an admonition as well. And it's in Ephesians, and it says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. Now, a lot of times we get stuck on that word submit because we think, well, I'm not going to submit to you. You're not going to tell me what to do. But if you read the whole verse and you read it in context, look at the whole verse. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. It doesn't say if he's a good husband, if he got you what you wanted for Christmas, if he is the kind of man you'd always dreamed of. It is, I submit to you in the same way that I would submit to the Lord, who in turn has given himself for me. And so it makes it a little bit easier as I think about that, and as I think about treasuring you as a perfect gift for me, because you are God's perfect gift for me as my spouse. And so as we go through the holidays, we have to remember that.
Handle each other with care.
Yeah.
Very
absolutely.
good.
Absolutely.
Same way for husbands. Handling your wife's heart with care, taking care of you, and I made a joke about it earlier, but you've got a lot of heart investment in Christmas. A lot of wives, especially wives who are moms, take on so much. It's either like cooking for the holidays or entertaining, hospitality, travel, getting gifts. And we've said this in the podcast before, but I'm usually like a one-track mind guy, which is fine. That can be a strength. But in your case, you are multiple tracks running at the same time. Lots of windows on your monitor are open and you're trying to pay attention to 1,000 things at the same time. And that can be overwhelming. The heart behind it is that you would make this great experience for your family, and the Christmas for the boys and everyone around you would be awesome. And it's kind of this Mary Martha tension. You can get busy working. And so I got to handle you with care when I start to experience like, oh, this is too much.
Right.
We're doing too much. And I could tend to be like, you just need to calm down.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I need to hear that.
Yeah.
You know.
But I probably shouldn't say it like that.
Right.
I should handle you with care. So that's the first way we receive our spouse as a gift, handle with care.
Sure.
Second thing to remember, batteries not included.
Oh man, those are the worst toys, just FYI.
Yeah. Well, I always liked it when a person who knew that would give you the toy and a pack
And
of
the
batteries.
Best gift giver.
What a great move.
So thoughtful.
Yeah, those are the best. But batteries not included in your marriage, so you got to invest energy and effort.
Yeah.
Things that you ignore or don't maintain deteriorate. Things that you ignore or don't maintain deteriorate. So marriage is just like that. We don't invest energy in it. We don't contribute to it. We don't put a little bit in the tank. It's a marriage, but it can be drained of energy and effectiveness.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about receiving each other as a gift at Christmas, remember, there aren't batteries included. It's up to both of us to take what this marriage is, invest some energy, imagination, and creativity into it so that we can help each other come to life. It does not happen on its own. It will deteriorate if we don't invest in it.
Right.
Or it just won't work, and it'll be the lamest gift anybody's ever gotten.
Right.
So whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for men. Colossians 3:23. Husbands should fulfill their biblical and marital duty to their wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. That's how we invest energy into this thing.
Yeah, and that's specific. That's very specific about sex. You can't like go around that and be like, well, maybe it's talking about something else, because I think sometimes physically it's easy to ignore each other during this season and say, like, everybody says, well, after the new year.
Right. Hey, do you want to have sex? Well, let's circle back after the first of the new year.
Right.
I love that. That is a bold play.
To our listeners, don't use that.
Right.
Okay? Not good. Not good. Okay. So handle with care. Batteries not included. Right.
Yeah.
And then lastly, some assembly required. And so that means just ideally we have to build our marriage with intention. It does not just happen haphazardly. It does not come pre-assembled. It requires effort, communication, teamwork. We have to have a strong foundation, all of those things. And anybody, you've said this before, and I love this, anybody can throw a wedding. We put so much effort in throwing a wedding and sometimes very little effort in building a marriage.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot to build a marriage. Psalm 127:1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. So we have to grow and be intentional about the growth in our marriage because, like you said, what you ignore dies or deteriorates, right?
Yep.
You are not the same person that I married 26 years ago. I am not the same person that you married 26 years ago. And so oftentimes I have to relearn who you are, what you like, and how to love you well. And I think you would probably say, the same thing about me, right? I love Ecclesiastes 4:9, 2 are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. And so as we work together and as we work together on purpose, we do that with intention, knowing that there's some assembly required.
Yep.
I think the best way to illustrate this point is something that we viewed a few years ago as it relates to receiving something versus just taking something. And it's our boys on Christmas morning, and they had asked for years for a Nintendo Switch. For years, they'd asked for this.
And you always said no.
I always said no.
Yeah.
Okay. Anti-video game
You
kind
hate
of thing.
video games?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
However, this year something happened to my Grinch heart and it softened. And I said, okay. However, one of the things that we did that year is we let them open up their stockings first.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about you, but as we get closer and closer to Christmas, I become kind of sugared out. Like we've had so many sweets starting at Halloween all the way. So I'm like, they don't need a ton of sugar in their stockings, but I want them to look full. And so I decided as a filler that year, I would put socks in the stocking because it was a
sock in a stocking. That's
right.
It's a strong play. I like it.
Because they also wear their socks outside bare feet a lot still.
Yeah.
And without shoes. They're not bare feet. They have socks on, but they don't have shoes on. And so they tear holes in their
We go
socks
through a lot of socks in this one.
regularly, and it drives me nuts. So they need a new sock. So I stuffed, and it's a great filler, stuffed the stockings with socks. And I wish I could somehow show you the video in my mind of the way they received the gift of socks. I couldn't think of a more disappointed look than when they opened those socks.
Didn't one of them give us a Christmas list of things they definitely did not want?
Yes.
And socks was on it.
Socks was one of them. He said, no clothes or socks. At most, I will tolerate a T-shirt with funny sayings.
But that would just be tolerable.
Tolerable. And that was the list. However, that compared to a few minutes later, when they opened up their Nintendo Switch, as a group, it was the last gift. It was a group gift. And you would have thought we gave them a trip to Disney World. They were so excited and they yelled and they jumped up and down and they kept going, yes, 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 thank you, a switch. And they were thrilled because they were so surprised. But here's the reality of that. They received that as the gift it was. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think we receive our spouse like the socks. Yeah. We look at them and think, this is not really the gift I wanted. Maybe it's what I needed, but it sure doesn't get me excited.
It's super practical, but I'm just not into it anymore.
And our spouse is a gift from God. And so we need to receive them as the gift they are in the same way our boys receive that Nintendo Switch.
And remember, you got to handle with care.
Yes.
Batteries are not included.
Right.
And some assembly required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well,
for sure. Quick episode for you guys on Christmas Eve.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Check out carlandheather.com to know where we're going to be, what we're doing next year. That's the best place to do that.
Yeah. And just a quick announcement. We have been mentioning the Behold Women's Gathering. We actually are running now a BOGO sale, buy one, get one half off. It's only through the end of the year, through December 31st. And so you can buy one ticket, get a second ticket half off. If you go to beholdgathering.com, you can register. It's a women's conference that my friends and I host. It's February 8th, 2025 in Franklin, Tennessee. We'd love for you to be there. It's going to be awesome. You can come with you and just a girlfriend or grab a group of girls from your church.
And even if you're hearing this on Christmas Eve, it is still not too late to give Behold as a Christmas gift to the women in your life.
Right.
Because it's available and it's on sale right now.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Mm-hmm. Remember this, men and women, God gave you the spouse that you have. So receive them as the perfect gift. They're not the perfect person. But they represent exactly what you need to grow in grace and in character and in hope. So persevere in your marriage. Remember, this thing doesn't work itself. It's not going to happen on its own. But when we persevere in hope in Jesus, the Bible says in Romans 5 that this is a hope that will not disappoint. May you and your spouse experience a hope between each other, so much more hope than you do disappointment. this Christmas and in the new year to come. Merry Christmas, everybody. Join us next week for a special New Year's Eve episode. We are together on purpose.
Together on purpose.
It's Carl and Heather present.